And hi there, this is Dr. Barbara Young, and welcome to the Transformation Success Television Network. Today I have on the program a very special guest, Mr. John Leslie Brown. Hello, John Leslie Brown.
Hello.
I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
And this is my co-host, Mr. Hammond Bouldin. And we just want to give you a good old Transformation Success Television welcome.
And you too, shout out, welcome.
Welcome.
Right.
And so, really, you know, you're an incredible young man, and you've written this wonderful book. And I don't want to mention your noted dad, but he is the son of Les Brown. But in his own right, John Leslie has written his own book. He has his own pathway, although he works with his dad. But I want to share this, and I thought this was so incredible when John, in the first part of your book, which I love, he says, T.D. Jakes once said, "Don't let my talent take me where my character can't keep me." I want to acknowledge my mother, Legine Bryant, and my father, Les Brown. I hope I didn't mispronounce her name, for supporting me through all the character building experiences that I've encountered in life. And this book is dedicated to your son, so the legacy continues, and his name is Homer Phoenix Brown.
Honor Phoenix
Honor,
Brown. Yeah.
honor, thank you, honor. My eyes, honor Phoenix Brown. So I just want to say welcome to you, John Leslie, and you're doing a great job of what you're doing. And I want to know, you know, this book talks a lot about mental capability, being with your mental family, finding your mental family. And so I want you to share what motivated you in the first place to write this book.
Well, thank you. Growing up, I grew up with the dad on the bestsellers list. And I remember reading his book, Live Your Dreams. And at first I said, do I even need to read this book? And then I opened it up and turned to a page and I saw a quote. It said, everybody's born unique, but most of us die copies. I said, daddy. And I had to read this book. For the past 22 years, I started speaking at the age of 10 years old.
Wow.
And so I've been looking and finding what's the best practices in success. And then I came across a story that my dad told me off stage. He did some work with the Gates family. And the Gates family, they don't just work on 5 and 10-year goals. After a speech, they took him in the back room and said, this is where the Gates family will be in the area of technology 100 years from now. They have a 100-year plan. And so we teach people how to create generational wealth with the 100-year plan.
That's wonderful.
Awesome.
That's what the H in the Harvard effect stands for, the 100-year plan.
The 100-year plan.
Yes.
So, I love it. I love it. So tell me a little bit about what the reader is going to gain out of this book, because you just gave me this book, and I'm definitely going to read it. But I was glancing through, and I was like, oh, I see some good stuff about how you define success for you. Because we had talked about this earlier, that I always say that success is defined in different ways by many different people, and it has a different definition. So how do you define success?
Well, for me, it's about creating something that's sustainable. There's a quote that says, success without successors is failure. And as you know, my dad, the great Les Brown, he's achieved so many great things. He's motivated millions of people around the world. So my question is, how do we build a plan that keeps this dream alive? And that starts with the concept of a 100-year plan. See, most people, when they make their goals, they think about, what do I need to drive? What type of place do I need to live in to be successful? But their 100-year plan is not about you, because you're not going to be here to achieve it. This is about something bigger than you. So you have to ask yourself this question: how will the world be different because you were born? And that's how you start to form your goals. What can you do with your life that can leave an immortal impact?
That's great. That's great.
Well, I've heard from an infamous world-renowned man that says, will your grandchildren or great-great-grandchildren remember your name?
Now, yes.
Folks, that was from the great Les Brown.
The great Les Brown. and those words are very familiar. And did you know that 70% of wealth is lost by the second generation.
Yes.
70%
Yes.
of
I
wealth
do
is
know
lost
that.
by the second generation.
that.
By the third generation, 90% of wealth is gone. And so what has happened is we have to find a way. They asked the top insurance agencies in the world. They asked the wealthiest families, what do you want to leave with your kids when you go? And it wasn't their fortunes, it was their values.
That's
and
exactly
so we
right.
have to find a way to plant the values in this next generation so that they can carry the torch.
But you know, one of the things that we do know, coming from an African heritage, that the values were translated and transmuted to the generation by what? Storytelling.
Yes.
We have not told the stories and don't pass on to our children the stories of how the hardships we had and the value of money, the value of a legacy. So a lot of it has to be taught to our youngsters, and so I'm glad to see that you're doing this. Your dad, you know, taught you, and you're teaching your son, Honor, how to do this. But you know, one of the questions I think is so important too, and I know this has been asked of you many times. How was it, you know, growing up with a dad that is, you know, here in statue and accolades coming everywhere and people, and how does that make you feel?
Well,
Be truthful. It's okay.
Be truthful.
It's all right.
Well, yeah, it's like having high standards that never go away. Okay.
Yeah.
So you see these red glasses of mine. These are my leader lenses. Okay. Because I had a leader looking at me every day when I grew up. I know you know. And so what it is forced me to think about what's next. There are so many things happening now. My dad was talking about satellite training years before the capabilities were there on his tapes.
So he's a visionary.
Yes, he talked about Little League. If we could have Little League football teams and baseball teams and basketball teams, we should be able to have Little League oncologists and radiologists and endocrinologists.
That's right.
And so now
Right.
I have the privilege of bringing all these things to life. And so the training in the future, you know, we used to have CDs. Before that, they had the A-tracks, right? Now everything's digital. These leader lenses is the training of the future. It comes with special technology attached to the side. So now all the motivational videos and audios that you would normally find on YouTube or other places, you get all through your leader lenses.
Yeah. All right.
And we're working to build the largest virtual reality motivational library.
Oh wow! Oh wow!
Getting ready for the
that's
Pilgrim
interesting.
Project. Yes.
You're absolutely getting prepared. And you know, one of the things when I first met you, I was very impressed with you because you're the social media guru and you're doing all this stuff, helping your dad. And is that a blessing for you to be working with your dad, or would you like to be independent?
Well, I think that, you know, no, I wouldn't like to be independent. Okay? I'm part of the first family of motivation.
Okay.
And so my dad's, my sister, and I, we've been working together since I was 10 years old.
Okay.
The thing that you learn quickly when you're working together with a team is that you can do a lot more with people that love you than you can by yourself.
Absolutely.
And everything that I do,
right.
everything that I've learned, it's because of the exposure and the environment. Here's something to remember. Environment is more important than people.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah,
Environment is more important than people. So growing up in an environment where my dad put me in some of the top training in the world, I had over $1 million invested in my higher education.
Right.
You know, now it's part of me to give back and to take our family business into the future, to help grow our Facebook following from 1 million to 10 million in the next 3 years. Come on now.
Right. You hear that, folks?
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. But you know, John Leslie, one of the real true isms about this too is that in order for you to grow and to be, your dad had to, I'm sure, you had to accept the fact that he's gone, that he's not there to take you to the soccer game, or maybe not there the night you were wanting him to be there for his big accomplishment.
Yes.
How did you handle that?
Well, that's a great question. I handled it differently than my other brothers and sisters. I decided to go on the road with him. So I was come 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. I was studying and working so that when he passed me the mic, I'd be ready. Take me with you to London and China. Right? When you go, but Alvin Toffler, who
Yes.
wrote the book Future Shock.
Right,
He has a
right.
quote that I love. He said, "The new illiterates of the world are not the ones that
No.
cannot read and write. They are the ones that cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." And when we look at the future, and when we look at, I had to learn that my dad is a leader, first and foremost. And sometimes you might take it hard when you don't see your parents there
Right,
at every little
right,
function.
right.
But when your parent is a leader, when they serve masses of people, you have to share your love with the rest of the world.
Right.
And I'm glad my dad is a leader. There's so many people who went to prison, so many people who have built businesses, so many people who have done great things
Right.
because my dad wasn't at those Little League games.
Right.
And I
Right.
stopped playing Little
Right.
League games, and I
Right.
became a Little League deal closer because I wasn't just
Right.
waiting for
Right.
him to come home.
Okay.
Now, you have other siblings.
Mm-hmm.
How did the other siblings handle Dad being gone, and so they had different reactions from you? They
Well-
weren't packing their bags and going.
No. I'm the youngest of 11. Okay.
Okay.
So when the Bible
You're the
said,
baby.
I am.
You're
yes,
the baby.
Yes.
Oh,
When the
that's
Bible
sweet.
said, "Be fruitful and multiply," my dad took him seriously.
Yes,
Right.
yes, yes.
And I think that it's really caused us to be closer with one another, especially since we have to share our dad with the world. When it comes to my brother Patrick, he decided when my dad was diagnosed with cancer that he was going to become a caretaker. For 15 years, he helped take care of paraplegic people that could not take care of
Okay,
themselves,
okay.
so that when my dad was ill, he could step in. And so when it comes to going on the road, making sure that he's got all his medications,
Right, right,
that he's got his
right.
mascara and everything else.
Right.
But Patrick is the backbone of the operation.
Okay, that's great.
You have my sister Serena. Ever since we were little in the hotel room, she was checking the check on the hotel room. Uh-oh, who bought these chicken fingers for $40? And so
Yeah,
she
yeah.
runs the money. She
Yeah.
makes sure that everything's taken care
That's
of.
great.
And everyone has their unique role. And my role right now is always going to be the little brother.
So you've accepted your role.
I've accepted
in
my
the
role.
family.
No matter how many seven-figure deals you close, you're always the little brother. The other day we were flying from a speaking event. My dad said, "John Leslie, you caused me a bigger headache than all of your brothers and sisters combined, but you made more money than all of them combined too." I said, "That's a good headache to have. If you want that in your
That's
family."
right. Out of all of the siblings, do you recognize that you are more like your dad than the others?
I don't recognize that.
Maybe he does.
Maybe he does, but don't tell him. But I think that the older I grow, and the more that my brothers and sisters participate in the family business. For me, for a while, it was my dad and I. Then my sister and I, Ona Brown, who's a phenomenal speaker.
Yeah, right.
She has a quote that says, "You don't get the life that you deserve, you get the life that you design."
All right, I like that.
Yes,
Like
and there are
that,
so
yeah.
many families that don't get a chance to, they only get a chance to see each other on holidays or on a funeral when a funeral
Yeah,
happens. So
true.
we're designing a life that, my son Honor, because it's one thing to be a son, but it's another thing
To have one,
to be a father.
Yeah. How old is Honor?
Honor just turned 4 years old.
Oh,
Yes,
that's
All right,
cute.
just turned
all
4
right.
years old.
That's great.
Yes.
You have a
Nice.
chance to mold that young man. Absolutely.
And he's already ready. We were in the hotel room. Private moments are the best things. Les
Yeah,
Brown,
yeah.
Samaya Brown, and me, and I say, "Honor, come tell us a story." And then he stops what he's doing. He comes, sits on the bed. He said, "Excuse me, do you have a book, please?" And he goes, grabs a book, and makes up his own story the whole time. And then at one time he looked at us. He said, "The fire in the words." And we said, "Woo! No, you did not. The fire in the words by Honor Phoenix Brown."
my
So
God.
his book is coming soon.
Yes. That's a
That's
good
your
one.
baby.
That's a good
That's
one.
your baby.
Oh,
That's a
my
good
goodness.
So
one.
we're in there, 4 years
Yes,
old, practicing,
you
passing the
are.
mic, introducing his grandpa. He
That-
was there.
that's
Ladies and
great.
gentlemen, the #1 speaker, Grandpa. Now that's the 100-year
I love
plan.
it. I
That's
love it.
100.
I love it.
That's
I
it.
love
That's
it.
it.
I love
That's
it.
it.
I love it. I recall a young man who, at a small age, well, very, very small, could recite and make up his own stories. And so he went to school one day because there was no television in the house. So he went to school and made up his own Batman and Robin episode and got kids kind of, you know, that didn't happen. And he said, oh, yes, it did. Yes, it did. So the teacher ended up sending him home. And the teacher was upset. That young man was this one right here. And I had the opportunity to tell the teacher, look, we don't have a television in the house. This young man should get a star and an A+, because he's very inventive. He made his own Robin and Batman's story episode.
Yes.
The whole episode.
Do you still have that one? We can make some money over
that. Okay, let's do it. And folks, actually, they cut the TV cord. Like we didn't have a TV. Oh. They cut the cord. And
That's right.
On a 3-year hiatus. Can you believe it?
Yes.
3-year hiatus. But what it did is allowed me to tap into my creative juices that flowed in me. Began to just build jigsaw puzzles, model airplanes, aircraft carriers, you know, cars, and playing with my little G.I. Joe. I know you don't know about G.I. Joe, but just, you know about some G.I. Joe.
Yeah, cool.
And I just had a good time with myself, bonding with my sister, you know. But that was just something that they felt was necessary because they saw some things, you know, running around, I'm an outdoorsman, loved it, you know, was an athlete, always have been, still am. And, you know, I'm always out in the street, we're playing ball, whatever kind of ball, whatever it is, it's ball, any kind of ball, oblong, round, square, it don't matter, we playing some ball.
Right.
But it was time to work on some other things on me. And that's the story they did. So I went to school literally in the 5th grade, 6th grade?
4th, 3rd.
And just literally made up an actual scene, a Batman scene. I think I put the Joker in there. I mean, I had a whole scene.
They were then doing pow and bam.
Yeah,
and
I was acting it out.
He was acting it out.
Yeah.
So
That's
awesome. I thought, you know, great. So these kinds of things, I think, are the peaks of what we have to nurture and develop and help them grow.
Yes.
So kudos to you.
Absolutely.
And little honor. That's wonderful.
Yes,
and
it is.
kudos to Mr. Bouldin.
Yes. There's hope for honor.
There's hope. So tell us more, this intriguing book. What will the world be different because you were born?
Yes. So the Harvard Effect is an acronym. The H, as you know, stands for 100-year plan. And we help you develop a 100-year plan in less than 20 seconds because we don't have all day. It doesn't take 99 years to make a 100-year plan.
Right.
You heard of an elevator pitch? We have
it.
something called a travelator pitch. That's the future. I'll take you
All
there in chapter 2.
That's great.
The A stands for allow yourself to fall. We have to keep in mind that failure is not failure. You hear a lot of people say, hey, you're going to fail your way to success, but they have been winning for a while. So, allow yourself to fall. R stands for resource management. And that's managing your mind, your time, and your relationships.
Yes.
Okay. Not your money.
Not your money.
Not your money. So
no, not it. Your most valuable resource is not your money.
No, it's not.
It's your mind.
It's mine.
Okay. After that, it's your time,
That's it.
Right.
and then it's your relationship. So how do you manage those? And the average person has over 5 hours and 30 minutes of downtime a week, according to the Department of Labor Statistics.
And then where do they spend it?
And where do they spend it? So I teach people how to maximize their downtime. And the reason why they call it downtime is because that's the time when most people engage in the activities that prevent them from going up in life.
Right.
And so when you're a resource manager, you know how, you got to learn how not to allow your distractions to get in the way of your destiny.
Right. Absolutely.
And so the V stands for virtualize yourself. We live in a digital world.
Absolutely.
Where the app market is growing, the market is imploding to over $100 billion. There's so many new technologies.
I'm telling you.
If you don't know how to virtualize yourself, you can get overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed and overrun.
Overwhelmed and overrun. But one of my mentors, Alex Mandossian, says, being overwhelmed, it's not knowing what to do. It's just not knowing what to do next.
Yes.
And so this book will teach you what to do next.
That's great.
So you are not overwhelmed. And the last 3 letters is acknowledge your journey, rise to the occasion, and dwell in gratitude.
Ooh, wow. I like that.
Nice.
Ooh, wait. I thought it was going to do not deviate.
That's the next
That's the next book.
That's the next edition.
That's in one of my. It's in my book.
Is that right? With Batman and Robin over there,
right.
we gonna write a new
So,
one.
yeah, and I like the fact that raising your relationship capital is, I'm telling you, that
you
is
peeked
number
inside
one.
there.
That-
You peeked
I
inside
peek-
there.
You know what? I get good at peeking through books, and something just jumps out at me.
Yes.
You know, and then I have taught my students. I was a professor in one of my other lives, and I taught students how to read a book without reading a book. But it is good to read books, and that leads to my next question. Before we wrap up today, is that, you know, one of the things your father shares, this man has so much knowledge and he's a lot of quotes, and that he reads a lot. So are you a reader, and what are some of the books that you would recommend to some of our viewers and listeners out there that they should really read? Not Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
No.
Your dad's never read that book, so we won't talk.
He told you that family secret.
Yeah, he did.
Well, I have read it. It's a great book. Too.
I won't tell you that.
Okay, I won't tell him. But yes, readers are leaders, as Reverend Miles Monroe would say.
I remember
And
him so well.
So when it comes to business books and business development, I love From Good to Great by Mr. Collier, and also The Secret of the Ages. That's our family heirloom.
Okay.
You've got Tribes by Seth Godin. That's incredible. Alvin Toffler has a new book out called Revolutionary Wealth.
Yes, heard of him. Yep, I heard that book.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's a classic. Launched by Scott Duffy. But the top 3 books that I recommend is The One Thing. That's Power by Keller Williams.
That one is hot right
That's
now.
hot. Okay, I
Yes.
got a quote from the CEO of Keller Williams Publishing for the Harvard Effect. And
Oh, wow.
Yes,
Good for
yes,
you.
indeed.
Okay.
And The One Thing is just a classic. Oh, in that book it says
The one.
it's
gotta
a
get
classic.
that book. Gotta get that book.
It said
The One Thing.
life is a question, and how we live our lives is the answer.
Woo!
That's the one
Doesn't that just
thing.
resonate with
Yes.
you? I know it resonates with you listeners out there. And I also want to recommend another book. It's called The Go-Giver by Bob Berg. That's a good one too.
Okay, I'm adding it to my list.
The giving. You know, the giving, because I think a lot of times people think when you give, is it, you know, manipulative or am I giving away? But it really is the gift of giving, which I think is so important. So I want to thank you for being on the show today. This has been wonderful. And I want you viewers to get this book, The Harvard Effect. And tell us, where can they get this? Amazon, is it Amazon.com?
Amazon, Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble.
Go in and request it. It
This
became a #1 in 3 different categories.
All right.
Yes,
Thank
indeed.
you.
So-
Thank you. So I am proud to present The Harvard Effect by John Leslie Brown.
Yay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
A
so much.
dynamic man in
Appreciate
your
you.
own right.
Thank you.
Appreciate you for being on the show.
Thank
Love you much.
Love you too.
Love
Oh, you got to put on your leader lenses before we.
Oh, we gotta put my leader lenses.
Yes, yes,
Definitely,
yes.
I have leader lenses. I want everybody to see me put them on.
Yes. They coming out.
Up
Right?
there. I'm coming up.
Hey.
I want the world to know I'm
watch
a
that.
leader.
Pow. There it is.
Thank you. This is Dr. Barbara Young, Transformation Success Television, signing off, and I'll see you soon. Thank you for listening, and thank you for viewing. Yay! Yay, yay, yay.
Awesome.